Hello, beautiful souls. I am beyond excited to share with you today the latest piece added to the Blue District collection, the Jaro dress. Let's start with what's so special about this dress. It contains the world's first vegan ostrich feathers on it that I invented. Woo! I was so happy I was able to come up with this product, and I am going to share with you everything there is to know about it. So it all started in the end of 2020, beginning of 2021. We were still in the midst of the pandemic in California, where I was residing at the time. And we've been on lockdown for almost a year, and I just didn't know what to do with myself. So I dove back into what I really loved, fashion. And I started looking at all the new designers, all the emerging fashion, what were people presenting, because the fashion shows were still going. They might have been no audience, but they were still going. And back then, they were already showing spring, summer 2021 to fall, winter 21-22. I remember seeing there was not one designer that didn't have at least one piece with feathers on it. Everyone had ostrich feathers, and it was just everywhere. It could either have been on a bag, a pant, a dress, a top, a blazer, or a hat. Every single designer had feathers on their garment. So I was like, okay, cool. I can get behind this trend. Let me do something cruelty-free with feathers. Because as you know, I am committed to make Blue District 100% cruelty-free and as sustainable as possible. While I follow the trends, I definitely try to do my own thing, but I just really like the feather look. So I was like, let's see how I can implement that in a cruelty-free store. Typically what happens in the consumerism world of fashion is when designers are coming out with a specific design that are catching people's attention and become trendy, the fast fashion stores are going to go create mock-ups or replicates of these looks for a fraction of the price. Obviously, you're not going to have the craftsmanship or the quality or some of the detailings, but you're going to find the same trends and the same looks because that's what makes their business set. So what I did is I Googled a few different fast fashion stores to see what product they had with feathers, assuming that because their pieces are so cheap, they would have an alternative to feathers. Come to find out that even if a dress is $35 or $40, it was still made out of real ostrich feathers. My mind was blown because I'm like, how can they afford to do that? But that's fast fashion. I don't even want to get into it. I couldn't find anything online that had ostrich feather look that were not ostrich feathers. As you know, now if you type something fur, a fur coat, you're going to have millions of options of faux fur, artificial fur, vegan fur, whatever, you name it, because obviously it's been developed and it's well known, and most people now thankfully prefer to get the artificial one to the real animal skin. So I reached out to my manufacturer and I was like, I want to try to make garments with full feathers. And this was the start of a very long and tiring process and frustrating process. As you know, in the world, the Chinese, whatever is going to be in demand, they're going to find a way to make it cheaper so they can sell it to the entire world. They are the kings for that. So if there was anywhere I could find artificial feathers, it was going to be in China. So after my manufacturer went on countless fabric markets and came back with the answer that it does not exist, they don't have any feather look-alike, I was like, no way, there's gotta be something. They took a trip 2,000 miles away from their factory just for me to this novelty market that has like the most innovative fabric. They have, apple leather, mushroom leathers, all these different type of fabric that are very specific. They came back with this fur-like material that was very small strands of fur that kind of resembled a little bit of a feather, and we went with that and created our first symbol. It was cool and it was pretty, but it didn't have that feathery movement that you would expect on a garment. When the wind blows or the person is walking, it has this very fluffy, soft movement. then I try to find a unorthodox approach. I was like, okay, I know home decor has some artificial feathers. Let's try to see if we can add that to a garment. So they went to an arts and crafts store. They hate me for sure. The two things we tried is pampas grass. The problem is that even if you treat it, it has a tendency to always fall out and cannot be washed ever. So you would have to have a garment, even dry cleaning, it wouldn't work. So I was like, okay, so we can't use pampas on a garment. Then we also looked at these full big feathers that you can find in decor stores that are basically made of an iron stem. It's a little piece of metal in the middle that has these tiny little nylon pieces that gives it a feathery look. And that we even came up to the conclusion that you cannot wear something that has so many wires, and even if you came to wash it, it would damage everything and it would be painful and you would hurt yourself. So that wasn't also an option. So it was so frustrating. At this point, it was the end of 2021. I was gonna go with the dress I just showed you with the imitation feathers that kind of looked like fur. And I remember telling my friend, Angel, this feather dress is never gonna happen. There's literally nothing that looks like feathers and I don't know where to source. And then it just came to me, why don't we try to make it ourselves? To which they answer me, lady, we are a manufacturer of clothes. We can't just invent something. So they put me in contact with somebody who actually do threadings of fabric, natural fibers, typically bamboos, flax, hemps and stuff, because they can customize the thickness, the threading. They're very good with specialized in those type of weavings, and they're not afraid to try different things. And the way ostrich feathers are sold for fashion, they are on a ribbon and they have little pieces of feather hanging out, which you would just sew that ribbon to a hand typically. Why don't we attach something to a ribbon the same way they're doing it? What we have to find is how we can have that fluffy little hanging thing. And so we came up with this concept where it's a very, very thin thread that has a very soft and fluffy tiny threads pulled out of it. And when you fold it in half, it kind of looks like a feather. It has that lightness that keeps it very fluffy. And so we did it on the ribbon, and I thought it was nice, but it was a little sparse. So I was like, okay, let's try to add more, and we made it thicker. And I think overall it really did the trick and it worked super well. And it was kind of like, oh my God, I can't believe it's working. And it moved beautifully. So this particular technique of making feathers, I trademark it under Ethical Plumes. I hope I can find a way to even sell those feathers. This is in the works. I am working really hard at this, and hopefully it can be available very soon. For the record, the farming industry of ostriches is reportedly killing about 2 million of ostriches a year just for their feathers. And this number is very conservative because the numbers are actually not disclosed. It's not being told, so we can imagine that it's probably more. And what's terrifying is knowing that fast fashion now get on it, this number is probably like multiplied by 10, which is so sad, so unnecessary. And I am shocked that nobody came up with this alternative before. Like, hello, does nobody care about the ostriches? Like, they deserve the right to live and happily and free without them being killed for their feathers. That's nuts. Also, the myth that when an animal is killed in the farming industry, they use every single part of it, like the meat and the bones, the skin and the feathers and whatever else, is 100% not true. You typically will have farming specifically for the skin and then farming specifically for the meat. Typically, the meat industry, the animals live in such horrific condition that they have tumors, they have really bad skin that cannot be sold for leather or whatever else they're doing with these skins. So when you wear a feather look, you literally just killed that animal for this outfit for the season. Anyways, back to the Jaro dress. It was finally being able to be manufactured the way I wanted, to have the feel I wanted. And I was finally able to launch it this spring on the day of spring 2023. So I called it Jaro because in Czech it means spring. Probably not pronounced like that at all, but I thought that would be a nice symbolism because spring signifies rebirth, renewal, new blooms, new life, new season. I really think because this dress is one of a kind in its own lane and it's a new thing that I really truly hope millions of other designers are going to jump on this, because ostrich's feathers or any type of feathers is not cool, okay? Like cruelty, it's so last season. Like it's 2023. New technology, AI is what's trendy right now. Still hurting innocent being for no reason is not fashion. It's not trendy. It's not cool. It's horrible. Everybody needs to get on alternatives, technology, innovation. Animal skin, wool, feathers are not something you should be proud of wearing. Who made it seem that wearing a dead corpse is luxury? This is not luxury. Wearing an innovation that is revolutionary, that is different, that is forward-thinking, that's luxury. That's unique. That's something that you can keep forever and be like, look, this was an innovation back in the day. Because cruelty cannot be luxury. If you have the means, or if you save to be able to afford a nice, expensive piece of something that you're hoping is not gonna depreciate value, or that you're gonna be able to pass down to your children or family members, or something that you can keep for a very long time because it is unique and it is special, cruelty ain't it. That's not it. Cruelty is not the way to go. It's yuck. Why? We're 2023. We have holograms. We have AI that can pass the bar exam. We have cars that drive themselves. You're still gonna kill a being to wear on your shoulders, like back to supposedly what cavemen were doing? No, I think this is not it. This is not innovative. This is not luxury. This is not cool. This is not fashion. Anyways, the rant is over. Let me go back to the Jaro dress and tell you all about it. So the first thing you're gonna notice is how silky it is. So this is also kind of a special deal. We were able to create this vegan silk, as I like to call it. This is made with a specific blend of bamboos, different type of finishes, and we are able to have that very soft and luxurious buttery sateen that is of course very breathable. It's not like polyester that doesn't allow your skin to breathe, and not like silk, which on top of being also cruel is very thin and very fragile. This has a nice thickness and a nice weight to it. We lined it with the exact same fabric with the satin side on your body, so you get to feel that softness on the dress, which is almost like if you had a silk slip under your dress, which is very luxurious and cozy. The second thing I did was to have this knot in the neckline, as you can notice here. I thought that would be such a nice chic little touch. The knot creates a crisscross that if you have a little bit of a chest, it creates this little skin peekaboo and make it very easy. Depending on your size up there, it's always going to look fitted and right. If you are more on the flat-chested side, it's just going to look very nice and sleek. If you have bigger curves up here, then it's just going to fill it nicely with the option of expanding the peekaboo. The back has an invisible zipper, so it looks very nice and sleek. Something that was also important to me was to have a structured collar. You don't want the collar to crease or to roll down. So as you can see, it is not flimsy. It is strong and structured, and it really gives the feeling of wearing a choker in the sense that it is not going to collapse and it's always going to look all put together. And last but not least, the dress is finished with the feathers on the bottom, which are very fluffy. I really wanted to add a significant amount of layers to have that cabaret type of fluff look, which is often the most expensive type of ostrich feathers, obviously, because there are so many. So you have this high luxury look that moves in the wind, and that is so luxurious and beautiful. That makes the dress a very special one. I feel like this dress would be perfect for any holiday celebration, any cocktail parties, any upscale event, or just a nice dinner, date night, girls' night out, red carpet, New Year's Eve, or anywhere where a formal outfit is required. Really look fabulous because this is a showstopper and it feels so good on. It's so silky and buttery. Also, if you're like me and you have curves and you're worried that the straight cut might not be flattering, put a belt on it. It's so gorgeous with a belt. It will bring accents to the waist and showcase the curves. So it's kind of very versatile in that sense. The fact that it's sleeveless too gives a wide range of choices on how to pair it. Another thing I want to mention is if you bought this dress or if you're thinking of buying this dress, take little pieces and just rub it into your hands. It's going to create some static energy that is going to make it fluff even more. See that? Just rub it between your hand, just tiny little piece at a time, and you're gonna have that huge little fluff happening, which is such a cool trick, and this is so cool. And I am in love with this dress. It's so special and it feels so luxurious. It's also overall such a cool dress to own. If you feel like you're a trendsetter, this is the dress. You would be the first in the world to have this conversation starter like, guess what? Touch it. This is vegan ostrich feathers, the first one ever, and being a mindful trendsetter for me is really what being a fashionista means. So this is it. I hope you learned a lot. You can find the Jaro dress on the Blue District website or on Instagram at Shop Blue District or shopbluedistrict.com. I hope you enjoyed this video. You can follow me on social at Cobalt and Salt. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Cece. See you in the next one.